Shri Tripura Rahasyam Māhātmya-Khaṇḍam Aum Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha.
Namaste. So last time we finished up Narada's response to Haritāyana's question. We can imagine now Haritāyana is sitting there with his mind blown, all spaced out, after listening to Narada's deep, deep response. But then Narada goes on, wait a minute, I just came from Brahmaloka. Now, since Nārada is the mental son of Brahma, this is fitting, that he travels between Brahmaloka and other places. And he says, and I want to tell you about the conversation we were having about you. Poor Haritāyana, his mind is already blown. Now he finds out some of the most important personalities in the universe are talking about him. So Nārada goes on to explain, and I'm going to read a little bit from the book. Here, my nice thick book. In the assembly of Brahma, the great sage Markandeya, bowing humbly, questioned him while others seated there were listening. O respectable Lord of the universe, you are omniscient. Being the Creator, there is nothing not known to you. By your grace alone, I attained long life. By worshiping Lord Shiva, I conquered death. So, who is this Markandeya? Markandeya is quite a character too. Like Narada Muni, he's a very special sage. There's a story in the 12th canto, the 12th skanda of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Purana, chapter 10 actually, about Markandeya Rishi. Chapter 9 too is a far out story about him. But anyway, chapter 10. Once, as Lord Shiva was traveling in the sky with his wife Parvati, he came across Sri Markandeya merged in meditative trance. At the request of Parvati, Lord Shiva presented himself before the sage to grant him the result of his austerities. Coming out of his trance, Sri Markandeya saw Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the three worlds, together with Parvati, and he worshipped them by offering them obeisances, words of greeting, and a sitting place. Then Lord Shiva praised the saintly devotees of God and requested Sri Markandeya to choose whatever benediction he desired. Markandeya begged for unflinching devotion to the Supreme Lord, Hari, to the devotees of the Supreme Lord, and to Lord Shiva, Hara himself. Satisfied with Markandeya's devotion, Lord Shiva awarded him the boons of renown, freedom from old age and death until the time of universal dissolution, knowledge of all three phases of time, renunciation, realized knowledge, and the position of a teacher of the Puranas. So Markandeya's story is so wonderful because there's a boon even for hearing about it. Those who chant and hear the story of Markandeya Rishi will attain liberation from material life, which is based on the accumulated desires generated from fruitive work. So, boy, this is a mouthful, huh? Oh, and this is nothing. Wait till I tell you the other story. So Markandeya Rishi got these special benedictions from Lord Shiva and earlier from Lord Brahma. So he's an all-knowing sage. And just by hearing about his story, one gets liberation. Isn't that far out? So one should hear and chant these topics from the Puranas. They bring great benedictions, great knowledge. This, by the way, this Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Purana, is a huge work. It's a whole shelf of books, along with its commentaries and so on. I studied it for over 30 years. So this is very beneficial for spiritual life. So material life is based on the accumulated desires generated from fruitive work. Well, how is that? Because if you work for results, if you want to get something and you work for it, that's a desire right there. And by cultivating the desires, one becomes more and more involved in and trapped in them. But wait, there's more. When you get the result of the desires, it's never perfect, is it? There's always something wrong, something incomplete, something not exactly what you asked for. So this generates another desire. Well, let me try it a little bit this way or that way. Maybe then it'll come out right. But it never comes out right. That's Maya. That's the material world. So one should let go of desires based on the idea of getting what you want. Now, that's hard for a lot of people because the whole Western culture is based on getting what you want. The whole male-oriented dominator culture that's screwing up the whole world right now is based on the idea of being the guy who, the boss, you know, the big bully on the block, the guy who gets what he wants. And that is a flawed vision of life because it only leads to further entrapment in desire. Try to understand. So Markandeya, he got the benediction of being immortal for the duration of the whole universe. There are other sages like that. So Viśiṣṭā, for example, Viśiṣṭā, his life, he's also another son of Brahma. And he lives for the whole duration of the material universe. And his business is only to go here and there and instructing people in the principles of yoga. So we have the wonderful scripture Yoga Viśiṣṭā, which if you haven't read it, you definitely should check it out. So what about this Markandeya? There's another story. Once he saw Lord Vishnu, and he said to Vishnu, I wish to see the universal dissolution. I want to see what is the end of the world. And so Vishnu gave him this benediction. And so then he goes away, and Markandeya is sitting there, and it starts to rain. And it rains and rains and rains harder and harder, right? Until everything is filled up with water. And Markandeya is like treading water in this huge ocean of dissolution. Now, this isn't the actual end of the world, because that's in fire. A big fire comes and burns everything to a crisp. But this is the preliminary stage of the deluge. So he's there in the ocean of devastation, in the water. And he sees Lord Vishnu as Krishna, as a little naked baby floating on a banyan leaf, a big leaf. And he's floating on it, sucking on his toe. We see babies do this, right? And so, of course, Markandeya is little tiny and Krishna is very big. So Krishna inhales and Markandeya goes into his mouth, right? And then he finds everything back the way it was before. This is a wonderful story, very deep. I could spend 3 or 4 videos just interpreting the meaning of it. But anyway, this is Markandeya, right? So Markandeya asks Lord Brahma this wonderful question. And it goes like this. I read all scriptural injunctions along with Vedas and Puranas, all ancient sacred books, and the entire literature. Please tell me their essence if I am eligible to hear it. I already asked the devas, sages, and acclaimed yogis, but they told me according to what pleases them. O Brahma, you are the creator, omniscient, all-knowing, and an ocean of mercy. Please tell me about this. So this is the point. Markandeya is saying, everybody has some bias. Everybody has some interest. The yogis want to get yogic powers. The devas want to maintain their domination over the universe. Who else was it? The sages. The sages are just interested in their own enlightenment. They don't care about anybody else. So he's going to Brahma, because Brahma is the creator. He is the incarnation of the Rajoguna, the mode of passion. Every artist knows this passion of creating, the creative energy. It comes out as a wild passion, and you have to follow it. If you try to think too much or analyze too much or hesitate, the inspiration can be lost, isn't it? So I find myself sometimes getting up in the middle of the night to write down ideas for these videos, because I know if I don't, I'll wake up in the morning and go, what was that? That great idea that I had. So when inspiration comes, you have to follow it. And Brahma, he creates this material universe, and then he bears and creates so many sons to travel throughout the 3 worlds and finish this creation, put the polish on it. Nārada is one of them. Viśiṣṭā is another one. There are so many more. The 4 Kumaras, Sanandanas, and so on. So there are many, many sages going throughout the world doing Brahma's missions. And so Nārada is one of these sages, and so is Markandeya. So he's approaching Brahma, saying, what is really the essence of all these scriptures? You are objective. You don't have any personal interest. You created this whole universe. You know it inside out. So you can give me the answer without bias, without prejudice, and tell me what is the real essence of all these scriptures. Om Tat Sat. Aum Harihi Aum.